Good evening, everyone. We live in exciting times, isn't it? AI revolution, digital revolution. I'm going to talk about a basic ingredient that is required for the digital revolution that is taking place around us, and that is the internet. More specifically, I'm going to talk about internet access or digital access. How many of us have internet access at our homes? Quick show of hands. 100%? Including the children out here? Right? Great, isn't it? This is something we all take for granted. In my home, there are 12 devices that can connect to the internet. And it's a family of 5. So an average of more than 2 devices per person. My 13-year-old son has general access to at least 3 of these devices. He uses it for watching videos and entertainment, online gaming, chatting with friends, and most importantly, at least what we consider more importantly, is his education and learning. Even 7 or 8 years back, I remember he was hooked onto this app, which had this phenomenal setup, a Harry Potter Dragon Dungeons kind of setup where, the character would have to fight different battles, win a lot of treasure, and then move to the next level. And he was absolutely hooked onto it. Now, how do you move to the next level? How do you win the battles? By solving maths problems. And that's the kind of tools that are available to the kids today. And even today, he's using a lot of apps and tools which have significant amount of gamification. I don't think he can imagine a world where that is not accessible to him. And that's true for most of us. And yet, there is a vast population out there that does not have access to internet. And a lot of them are children. I realized this a year back when a young boy, around 8 years old, from the economically weaker section of society, started coming to our home for learning basics of language and math. Some of the family members would take time out 3 or 4 days in a week, probably 60 to 90 minutes to help him learn basics. I spent some time with him and I realized that he was struggling to read basic English at his grade level. So I did what I did for my son. I went online, looked out an app which would help him learn English, how to speak and how to read. And I would make him practice and ask him to practice at home as well so that the learning process is faster. When there's no progress in a few weeks, I tried to understand the detail and realized that he hardly had any internet access at home. In a family of 4, they had 1 device and that was owned by an adult and he did not get access to it. And this happening here in Gurgaon, not more than 500-meter radius from where we are sitting and talking. A lot of us and a lot of kids during the pandemic were able to access internet at home and from the school to continue their education. For this child, it wasn't possible, he got left behind. Let's look at some data. Last year in 2022, close to 52% of Indians were active users of internet. Active users means they were using internet at least once in a month. Most of the time they used it for entertainment, communication, and social media. Some people use it for online buying and retailing, e-commerce. Around 6% of them used it for online learning and education. And out of that, 70% are in urban areas. We belong to that small minority. So what does it take to provide digital access to people? What are the key factors? There are 4 primarily. 1, the network infrastructure that is laid down by telecom companies and ISPs. And we have made a lot of progress in India in that in the last decade or so. And this is seen by the amount of growth in internet access in the rural areas. Second key factor is the device. Most people in India access the internet using the smartphone. And smartphone is a very personal device. In most households, in the lower section of society economically, it is the adult who holds the smartphone and the child does not get access to it most of the time. What is the ideal device for a child? Preferably a personal computer or a laptop, but its penetration is very low in India, less than 15% at this point of time. The third key factor that is important for online learning is the digital content that is available. Now, a lot of content is available nowadays. Some of it is behind paywall, but a lot of it is also free. A key consideration for a lot of kids here are 2 basically. 1, language. A large part of the population in India is not comfortable with English. They would like to have content in Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Bengali, a lot of these Indian languages, which is not available so much. A second important consideration is the ability to read and comprehend, which is significantly underdeveloped in a number of kids, in a vast section of kids, and maybe because they don't get help at home. And that is where content that is in the form of video or audio becomes very important, because they're able to overcome their incapability to read. The fourth important factor for digital access, perhaps the most important in our world today, is the economics of digital access. Yes, we have the cheapest data rates in the world when it comes to mobile data. We have number of smartphones which are low end, and hence the internet access is spread. But when it comes to children, there's still a lot of limitations. Laptops, personal computers are expensive. For that, you have to have broadband connection at home that costs more than typically mobile data. And that comes in the way of an average household in terms of affording internet access. There's also an element of producer side when it comes to economics. For someone to create huge amount of content in multiple languages for multiple age groups, you need a lot of funding. And that requires another set of effort out there from a lot of potential participants in the society. So how can we increase digital access for everyone? I have a few ideas that I can share out here. One, educators and technologies can collaborate to create content in regional languages. Technologies can create voice-based learning models, large language models in multiple languages, and that can be made available to a vast population in India, potentially free of cost. That will require a lot of funding, and that's where both public and private funding would be required. Schools and universities in a lot of countries are actually offering a lot of their course online free of cost for people who can access it. But none of these ideas really solves the last mile problem that we have, which is the availability of devices for all kids. You know, going back to the same data, I have an average of 2 devices at home which can connect to the internet, which would probably be true for most of us out here. At least all of us have more than 1 device per person that can be connected to the internet. We upgrade these devices every 2 to 3 years. And a lot of them are not really end of life. They cannot be used for high-end gaming or programming, but they're enough to access the internet using a browser and a normal wireless connection or even a LAN connection. I have upgraded 4 laptops in the last 5 years, laptops and desktops, and we passed on a couple of them to people who needed it but could not afford it. Now, if we extend this idea further, we could, as a community, work together to ensure some of these devices go into a community center, like we used to have, you know, public libraries earlier. You could have computer labs in societies, in community centers. All you need is 4 or 5 computers, a simple home broadband connection, not very expensive. It's not going to cost, besides the cost of the device, maybe 5,000, 6,000 rupees per month. Some amount of effort will be required to maintain it. Access will have to be provided to all children who don't have internet available at home, so that they can come there and learn. But this is going to require a lot of effort from all of us. The key question is, why should we make that effort? Why is it so important? The development of any society, any country, depends on the growth of human development indices. And a key element out there is education. And all of us here care a lot for every child getting education. In today's world, having access to internet and online learning, the capability to use online tools and tap opportunities is as important as the basic education we get at school. A child who does not get that education may be deprived of opportunities. And this comes in the way of the equity that we want to create in society, which is at the core purpose of education. So let me end this by just asking, how many percentage of children in India should get digital access or internet access? 100%, right? Great. And that is an idea worth spreading. Thanks, everyone.